Moving on to the markets, Nigerian all-share index is currently trading up by 0.18%. The top gainers are Julius Berger, which is up 3.9 billion naira, while Nigerian 3 naira rather 9 kobo, while Nigerian breweries is up 1 naira 26 kobo, and Zenith Bank 68 kobo. While the laggards right now are Okomu Oil down 3 naira, S Service lost 45 kobo as at the last time we checked, and Access Bank down by 44 kobo so far. For a quick update on Nigeria's market activities, I'm now joined from UBA Capital by Abiola Rasaq, a team lead research at UBA Capital. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Abiola. Well, we see Access Bank reported disappointing first quarter results last Friday. Now, what reaction are we seeing from that result today?
Today, market has been negative on that counter. Just like you mentioned earlier, the stock has lost about 40% intraday. Currently trading around 10 naira 10 kobo, and that's largely because of that disappointing numbers. But interesting thing to note is the fact that it's actually not disappointing for us. Major reason because we've communicated earlier that Access Bank Q1 numbers will be weak, and that's largely because of the reinvestment risk. Remember, they have a very liquid balance sheet, and of course the yield environment has eased about 190 bips on a quarter-on-quarter. So of course we expect the impact of that on their earnings, and of course some other non-interest income cushioning the impact of that, but definitely it's not good enough for us at this point in time.
Now, this poor result you just mentioned, is it a blip, or can we anticipate similar surprises over the rest of this, first quarter earnings season?
I think broadly for the banks, the Q1 numbers are actually going to be a little weak for virtually all the banks, because the interest environment does affect all the banks. That's the interest risk they carry. But I think the interesting thing to note is the fact that the impact is actually going to be different across all the banks. Those that have very liquid balance sheets will be the major, the most vulnerable to this lower interest environment. The likes of Zenith Bank, for instance, also have a very good liquid balance sheet. And of course, on the back of that, you expect that the earnings will actually be almost flat year on year relative to 2011 numbers, despite the increase in volumes.
Well, now, looking at where the market is right now, up 22% this year. Well, some say it's beginning to look, expensive, and are cautious about the outlook going forward. Now, should we be selling stocks right now?
I think I have actually mentioned it on this session before, that for us, we think market is at equilibrium, and likely dislocation to that equilibrium will most likely be a downside risk. Yes, we don't expect a free fall in the market, but we would actually be selling in April. And maybe by the time market bottom out again in May, that will present more bargain opportunities for us to begin to buy.
All right. But I think it will also be nice to discuss, NSE's plans on SME growth and listing through the relaunch of alternative securities markets. Now, on this note, 14 designated advisors have been appointed to work with these companies. Now, what's your take on this new move?
This is a very, very exciting initiative of the NSE. UBA Stockbrokers, for instance, is one of those 14 designated advisors for the SMEs. And largely the major rationale for this has to do with the fact that you need to grow your SME base in Nigeria for the economy to actually get the benefit of industrialization. Of course, SMEs in other markets are actually the largest employer of labor. So you are not only talking about SMEs growth now, you're also talking about the impact of that on unemployment. But of course, one important thing for the designated advisors is the fact that SMEs actually lack financial advice currently, because most investment banks that you find in the country, they have a minimum ticket, and of course SMEs could actually not access financial advice from the top investment banks. So what the NSA has actually done is to through a rigorous process look into those that actually qualify to advise the SMEs. And of course, going forward, UBA Stockbrokers, which is one of the designated advisors, will actually be working very closely with the SMEs, trying to support their businesses, not only from financial advice perspective, but also in terms of seeking funds for them and potential partnership with the large caps, and also in terms of foreign direct investment into the space of the economy. So for us, we think it's a very welcome initiative of the NSC, and we expect this to actually be very positive for the market. Most likely sometimes down the year, we may begin to see maybe ETFs written on growth companies, and of course that might actually increase the liquidity within that space.
Oh, well, last week we did see the market pick up, what I call it, positively at some point, except for Friday when it dipped. Well, taking a look at this week, how do you see the market performing this week? Just your opinion, though.
Overall, I think this week is going to be more of a bearish week, but of course, like I said earlier, it's not going to be a free fall. Trading bands would actually be very tight at this point in time, and we'll see less volatility in the market, but overall, we'll most likely see a bearish session week on week on Friday.
All right, now, just before we go, let's take a look at your stock picks for the week.
For the week, we still expect Access Bank to pick up sometimes on Thursday and Friday. Once it begins to hit 10 naira, we think that's the support level in the interim. And of course, on valuation perspective, trading at around 7 multiple, we think the earnings number are not that bad. We think market has actually overreacted to it. And we think there are some upside to that counter in the week and of course going forward. So important thing for us, the fact that we'll watch out for the bottom of Access Bank, which is for us around 980 to 10 naira, and at that point we'll begin to buy again because we see that to be the support level. Of course, we also expect Dangote Sugar, which is currently, as I speak now, under pressure. We expect that pressure to moderate, and of course we'll be buying when market is selling, so that at least we can be the best gainers when market is actually repricing those counters I've mentioned.